Imagine this. It's October 26th, 1260, and a victorious army is marching into Cairo, and they have every reason to celebrate. They've just done the impossible. They defeated the Mongol Empire at the Battle of Ain Jalut. This wasn't just any victory. It saved the entire region from being completely wiped out. But here's the really wild part. The man leading this army, this hero named Baybars, well, just 2 decades earlier, he was sold as property right here in this part of the world. He was a slave.
So how on earth does that happen? This isn't your typical rags to riches story. It's a brutal, brilliant, and often bloody climb to the absolute top. To really understand the ruler, we have to go back and understand the boy, a kid who was ripped from the endless plains of the steppe.
To answer that question, we can't start in the fancy palaces of Cairo. No, Baybars' story begins way out on the vast Kipchak Steppe, a whole world of rolling green hills that was about to be torn away from him forever. The event that would define his entire life happened when he was just 14 years old. He watched as the Mongols, the very same people he would one day defeat, slaughtered his entire family. That kind of trauma, it forges a burning hatred that lasts a lifetime. And for Baybars, it set him on a path that led him in chains all the way to Egypt. So, after getting sold and resold, a strange twist of fate puts Baybars in a really unique spot. His owner gets accused of treason by the Sultan of Egypt, and all his property, including Baybars, is seized by the state. And this is where the slave boy starts to become a soldier.
You see, the Sultan immediately saw that this young man was fiercely intelligent and had a real talent for fighting. So he puts him into the most elite unit around, the Bahari Mamluks. Now you have to understand, the Mamluk system was designed to create a warrior class totally loyal to their master, but it was also a path to incredible power. Here, Baybars wasn't just taught how to fight. He learned about politics, diplomacy, the whole shebang. His career was about to take off like a rocket.
Okay, so Baybars' first chance to really show what he could do was against a massive crusader army. And this wasn't just any army. It was led by King Louis IX of France, part of the Seventh Crusade. They were confident, they were powerful, and they were heading straight for Cairo. But Baybars was a tactical genius. He used the Crusaders' own strength against them. He basically left the city gates of Mansoura wide open, as if inviting them in. The French knights, thinking the city was abandoned, charged right in. Big mistake. Once they were all tangled up in those narrow, winding streets, Baybars sprang the trap. That heavy armor that made them unstoppable on an open field, it just made them slow, clumsy targets. It was a complete massacre. So, huge victory, right? Well, that victory created a new problem. The new Sultan, turned Shah, swooped in, took all the credit, and started pushing the Mamluk heroes aside. Baybars was not going to stand for that. During a celebratory banquet, he led an attack on the Sultan. The wounded Sultan ran to a wooden tower by the river, but they just set it on fire. When he jumped into the Nile begging for his life, Baybars himself leaped in and drowned him. This shows you, Baybars wasn't just a soldier, he was absolutely ruthless. Well, as you can imagine, murdering the Sultan throws Egypt into years of political chaos. Baybars is actually forced into exile, constantly dodging assassins. But a new threat was brewing on the horizon, one so huge it was going to force old enemies to team up. It was the Mongols. The same people who had destroyed his childhood were now at the gates. They had just annihilated Baghdad, the heart of Islamic civilization. So the new Sultan of Egypt, a former rival of Baybars named Qutuz, knew he needed the best commander he could find. He needed Baybars. This was it, the year of the ultimate showdown. Qutuz called Baybars back from exile, and he made him a promise. Help me win, and I'll make you the governor of Aleppo. He put Baybars in command of the vanguard, the tip of the spear. The stage was set at a place called Ain Jalut, which means Goliath Spring. And then, a bit of luck. The Great Khan died, which forced the main Mongol leader, Hulagu, to head back east, leaving a smaller army behind. Baybars, knowing exactly how the Mongols fought, worked with Sultan Qutuz to pull off a brilliant strategy. They faked a retreat, lured the overconfident Mongols into a valley, and then completely surrounded and destroyed them. The myth that the Mongols were unbeatable was shattered, right there, forever. So, Baybars is the man of the hour. He saved Egypt. He avenged his family.
He defeated the unbeatable. Now, all that was left was to collect his reward, the governorship of Aleppo, just like Sultan Qutuz had promised him. But on the triumphant march back to Cairo, Baybars found out the truth. Qutuz, probably scared of how powerful and popular Baybars had become, went back on his word. He gave Aleppo to someone else. For Baybars, a man who had already killed one sultan for disrespecting him, this was a fatal mistake. It was the last betrayal he would ever put up with. The response was swift, and it was brutal. During a hunting trip, Baybars and a few loyal officers managed to get Sultan Qutuz away from his bodyguards. Baybars walked right up to the Sultan and killed him with his own hands. No hesitation, no debate, just done. This next part is just incredible, and it tells you everything about the Mamluk system. Another high-ranking officer comes up and asks, "Who killed him?" Baybars just says, "I did." And the officer bows and says, "Then sit on his throne, my sultan." See, power wasn't about who your father was. It was about who was strong enough to take it and hold it. And Baybars had just proved he was the strongest of them all. And just like that, the journey was complete. The orphaned slave boy, sold in a market, had outfought, outmaneuvered, and outkilled every single rival. He rode into Cairo not as a commander, but as the sultan. So, at the end of the day, what do you make of a guy like this? Was he the hero who stopped the Mongol tide and saved his people? Or was he a ruthless tyrant who murdered two sultans to grab power for himself? The truth is, he was both. He was a man forged in trauma who climbed to a throne over the bodies of his enemies and his allies, and in the process, changed the course of history forever.